the clay is like in the hands of a potter, like you, Israel, are in my hands. I form you. I get you to be what you should be. But there's something different about the house of Israel, people he's talking about, is they can reshape themselves. And only if the pottery gets out of hand does it reshape itself. So you're on the wheel, and you have to be very steady and focused. And even a slightest movement will throw it off the wheel or make it all sink in and go crooked. And I've had plenty of those. But I used to like them finished like that, and then I would fire them that way, so they were a little odd. But that's pottery. So God is talking about us being his people. He puts us into the world as a piece of beauty, a piece of pottery. But sometimes we get out of hand. We go awry. Jesus talks about those who go awry, okay? And he says, like the garbage that's caught from the great nets. Now, again, another metaphor that I love to hear, because it reminds me of a child being in Union Beach, and I've told this story many times. We used to have drag nets. Drag nets are long nets with a stick on each end. And my brother or my cousin and I would go out. My father would say, okay, time to go drag netting when the tide was high, and we'd catch little spearing, okay, little silverfish that my mother would bake and fry, and they were good. Okay, so that's at night. But to get to that point where she's baking them, we had to catch something. And this is the bay. And I don't know if it was really healthy to eat stuff that came out of the bay, but we did. So we'd go out. Now, what was that like? Well, one of us would go out to a distance, one of us would stand still, and the other would circle around. So now we're taking in all the elements that are in that area, and then when both of us were parallel, we'd walk into the shore. And it's funny how we did it a lot. And every time we did it, and we weren't the only people that did that, people would gather to come and look and see, what'd you catch? And sometimes we caught a lot of spearing, the little silverfish. Sometimes we caught bigger, we call them snappers, I don't know what they really were. Sometimes crabs, little crabs, not big enough to keep. A lot of times we caught garbage, literally garbage. Shoes, little piece of a tire, broken bottles, and that was all what was on the ground of the bay. So, of course, we didn't think that was a big deal. We just went through, we caught the fish, put the fish in the bucket, and trashed the other stuff. So it's a very common metaphor that Jesus is using to fishermen, because they went out in boats and they did the same thing. They put their nets down and would catch everything. So Jesus is being very simple to us. He says, listen, he says, at the end of the time, that's what life is going to be like. God is going to send out his angels and grab all of you, and some of you are going to be garbage, like the leftover from the potter's wheel. Some of you are not worthy to be brought into the net and then into the vessel that will hold the fish. Some of you will not be worthy to come into the kingdom. And he said, I want you to take note of that. Listen to it. It's very simple. Write down these stories, pass them on. They're parables, but they really mean something. And it's very clear to us today how our deeds make a difference. Sometimes we're told by, pop psychology or even conversations on TV, radio, sometimes even on little YouTube videos, how doing something good makes a difference in someone's life. Doing a piece of charity, there's this one, it's repeated in several different ways, but it's the same idea. This homeless-looking person goes to a woman or a man who has a big shopping cart, and he wants a bottle of water, and he says, I have no money, would you buy this bottle of water for me? And maybe the first 3-4 people, no, I'm too busy, I have other things to do, I have no money for you, blah, blah, blah. And then there's that fourth person, or fifth, or sixth, whatever number it is, that says, oh yeah, here, put it here with my stuff and I'll pay for it, it's only a bottle of water. And then what happens is the guy who is supposedly the poor person says, you know what, this is a test in social psychology, and you passed the test. So I'm going to pay for all of your groceries. Now, I've seen this several times in different circumstances, but the idea is the message to the community, to the world who's listening to these little Twitters, tweets, whatever they call them. Doing good is good. Doing good is right. Doing good helps people. Ignoring people doesn't help them. Now, we're in a dilemma in our society because more than once I've said, we're not a little community where everybody knows everybody. There are strangers that come in and out, and sometimes, and not all the time, but some of those strangers are dangerous. We've seen that at the other church. Some people on the street come in and they're rude and they're misbehaving. So you want to say, well, let me give you something to eat or drink, but they're not in for that. And regrettably, some of them are mentally ill or disturbed in other ways, and they take it out on the world. So doing charity on the street is precarious. It's very dangerous. That's why I support doing charity through organizations, whether it's Catholic Charities, the parish funds, and so on. Doing charity in a larger way, but the message is the same. So God is saying, Jesus is saying today in the scriptures, what do you want to be? You want to be in that bucket of fish that I bring into my kingdom, or do you want to be trash that goes back into the garbage? The choice is yours.